Thank you. Everyone hear me okay? All loud and clear? Okay, perfect. So I'm Simon Loftus, and surprisingly, as the British guy, I'm the one without a heavy head this morning. I wasn't here last night, apologies. But yeah, I arrived today. I'm, like the guy said, I'm the Global Business Intelligence Director here at AVEVA of Portfolio. I've been with AVEVA for actually coming up to 8 years now, and have been part of the Connect journey ever since it was a license management tool, an access tool for where people collected their licenses. And I'm genuinely delighted to be here in Malmö today at ASKx with all of you. It's been a good 3 years since I was with the team over here, so it's a pleasure to be back. I got to apologize on Kim's behalf. I know she wanted to be here, so she asked me to step in, and you get a 2-for-1 deal because I think Doug's stepping in for one of our other parts later. So the title of this session is Integrate with an Industrial Intelligence Platform, which to me sounds a little formal. It's a little corporate, but actually what I want to talk to you about today is something much more human than that, in my opinion. I want to talk about how we connect things, how we connect data with people, and then how those people can generate new ideas. And then most importantly, why we do all of that. Because that's actually where I believe the real value lies. So let's get stuck into it. Okay, so technologies are advancing super quickly. We can work together in completely different ways now. I'm not just talking about big data, I'm talking about digitalization, automation, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, quantum computers, and even all the way up to an intelligent enterprise as well, which can hopefully operate at scale. These are the sorts of innovations that are transforming the scale and the speed of what it is that we're able to do. Everything's bigger, everything's faster, much, much faster. Not only do we expect the answers to our challenges quicker, but we're actually able to finally get them quicker as well. You can just type it in and hopefully get an answer quickly. They're throwing open the possibilities of what it is that we're actually able to do. So in short, all of these global challenges that have been spoken about make this radical collaboration actually essential, right? And these new technologies make that collaboration possible. So if we move on. When I was in Paris a couple of years ago in I can't remember when it was, 2024, whenever it was, we spoke about 147 zettabytes of data being created in the industry in 2024. So a zettabyte, for those of you that don't know, sorry if I'm teaching people how to suck eggs here, but a zettabyte has 21 zeros, which is pretty significant, right? By the end of 2025, we're now looking at 175 zettabytes, according to MIT. And it's potentially more than that now, likely much more than that. But there's something else that's changing along with the quantity of data, and that's the quality of the quality of the systems that are actually creating that data as well. And especially in capital industries where we see that. And obviously that's what AVEVA does, right? 10 years ago, a delegate from a coffee chain and a delegate from a company that might not have had as much to understand about a coffee chain, let's say a automotive vendor, they might not have had as much to talk about at an event like this. But today, with the size and the granularity of the data they can collect about their processes, about customers, feedback, suddenly there's this relevance between the two organizations. And really, and I think some of the other guys spoke about it in their presentation, we're really only scratching the surface of this data, right? On these numbers, the most shocking thing to me is that 22% of that data, of that 175 zettabytes of data is being used. So that means 78% of the data is going unused. And that really is the majority. It just kind of hangs out there, which is just totally crazy to me. So people, like we said, call these vast pools of unused information data lakes, right? And kind of make the data sound like it's, wastewater, like it's no good to anyone. But it is useful data, right? It can be transformational. If you have the means to filter it, if you have the means to store it, if you have means to clean it, it's totally becomes treasure. So, okay, we have got all of this data, like I said, 175 zettabytes and growing, incredible. But here's the thing, and I think it was mentioned as you were introducing me, having the data is not the same as getting value from the data, right? They're very different things. To actually deliver results, to actually move the needle, you need these two things, you need these three things working together, right? First, domain specificity. You need technology that actually understands your world, right? Not generic tools, not one size fits all, tools that are built for industrial use cases, that speak your language, that understand what something like a compressor trip might mean versus what a shopping cart abandonment might mean. Very different problems, very different solutions, right? Second, the technology has to be actionable. It's not enough to show someone just like a dashboard anymore. We've got so many dashboards. You just say, here you go, here's a dashboard of your data. There you go, good luck. The technology actually needs to be able to do something with that data. It needs to be able to perform control, potentially automate it. It needs to close that loop, right? Otherwise, you're just generating more noise. And as I've already mentioned, we've got enough noise already. And then third is the big one to me, and I was talking about it with Jonas before, it has to be hyper collaborative and interoperable as well, because no one system, no one vendor, or no one team holds all the answers to the data and the information. So you need these trusted systems talking to trusted sources across the entire value chain. Get those three things right, and hopefully this is where things start to happen. So let me show you how we think about this at AVEVA, okay? So on the left-hand side, you have AVEVA Unified Engineering. So this is where data is born. This is in those early design phases, right? The engineering phase, 1D, 2D, 3D data, point cloud data. You're creating this blueprint for the asset before it even exists in the world. In the middle, you have AVEVA Operations Control, the real-time world. This is where your plant is running. Your operators are making decisions, your processes are live, and this is where things get exciting and I guess sometimes scary as well. And then on the far side, you have Pi System, which hopefully many of you know very well too. This is that data infrastructure. This is where you're collecting, storing, historizing all of that operational data. Millions of data points every second, every day. Now, what connects all of these? Well, I guess the clue is in the question, right? It's connect. That's that yellow bar along the bottom. That's our industrial intelligence platform. Clue was in the title of the presentation. That's the fabric that actually ties all of this together across the entire asset lifecycle, from design to operations to optimization. One thread, one platform. And this is what it looks like when you zoom in on all of that, right? On the left-hand side, you can see all of that data flowing in from multiple sources, from Unified Engineering, from Wonderware, from Pi, third-party systems, remote assets out in the field. All of that data flows into Connect, into one place. And then look what comes out the other side. All of these use cases, ecosystem data sharing, data governance and contextualization, anomaly detection, remote operations monitoring, 1D, 2D, 3D data, enterprise-wide data visualization. I'm going to go through them all. Digital twins, production performance, asset optimization, track and trace, energy optimization, ESG management and reporting. That is a hell of a lot of value from one platform. And it all starts with getting the data connected, contextualized, and trusted, right? And this is not a theoretical diagram, by the way. I want to be really clear about that. These are real use cases that our customers are deploying today, right now, in the industries that we are working with. But one thing I want to be really, really clear about, Connect is not about ripping out anything. It's not about starting again. Nobody wants that. Nobody needs that. Nobody has the time for that. We don't have the budget for it. This is about extending what you already have. So if you look at what's on this side, EcoStruxure, AVEVA, ETAP, RIB, Wonderware, Pi System, other solutions, won't mention their names. These are technologies that many of the companies in here have already invested in significantly over years, over decades in some cases. Connect sits on top of that. It takes those existing investments, makes them work harder, and it makes them work together. Don't have to throw anything away. Don't have to start from scratch. You just have to connect it. And then on the right-hand side, you can see an ecosystem of partners as well, because it's not just about our technology, right? It's about the wider community of solutions that are actually building data, integrating with it, and extending it too. And that's what really makes all of this scalable. That's what makes it real. So if you are sitting there thinking, well, I've already invested heavily in Pi, or we're deep into EcoStruxure, perfect. That's a great starting point. That's your foundation, and Connect just makes that foundation even stronger. So I've got a couple of case studies for you, but we have a live one coming at the end of this set of presentations, so that'll probably be even better. But we have ZG. So between the solar farm and the electrical outlet, electricity has this super complicated journey that it has to go through from the power purchaser all the way to the end user. So SVCE, who you mentioned on there, yeah, hopefully, SVCE, Silicon Valley Clean Energy. They are a public non-profit agency that provide clean energy to 270,000 customers across 13 communities. And Z Global are a California-based energy consulting firm, and they provide power management services to SVCE. So the goal with Connect was to enable these power producers to share real-time and historical data between the two of them with speed, with ease, and the security of cloud as well, right? Before they'd actually adopted Connect or anything like that, the task of actually sharing data between the producer, between the purchasers, schedulers, this was a laborious, time-consuming, repetitive challenges. And with their new data sharing solution, which was configured with Connect, this increases security between all the parties involved. It simplifies that sharing process, and rather than having multiple customized data sharing solutions, now these power producers can configure data sharing communities for its data consumers, each within their own Connect tenant. Super cool. Then we have Tendika, right? Oil and gas producers can access real-time performance data on subsurface safety valves, which reduces both risk and all of these catastrophic failures as well, and actually the need to stop production to test valves. Tendika, they do wireless valve, they combine with edge data store, continuously convey performance data, to the surface, enabling this huge visibility and actual faster identification of any potential problems. So results include there's no need to shut down in well safety tests anymore, and this increased yields by up to 5%. Super cool again. And then because it's not all about oil and gas and power and things, and I've got a pet dog and I love dogs, so Hills Pet Products. So Hills Pet Products, they are a pet nutrition company, and they wanted to essentially increase the volume that their throughput was working on. And before Connect was installed on their line, it was taking them up to 40 minutes for their line operators to receive any results on any testing that was done, because they had to remove stuff offline. So what they did, and I think we'll speak about this in the presentation, they used Connect's advanced analytics, AI-enabled advanced analytics as well, to deliver inline testing. So they accepted more than 80% of the recommendations and were able to completely automate the process of testing just using Connect. So I hope what I say about radical collaboration is something that you all agree with, because I believe that it's what this age and this time kind of demands as us in the next phase of our lives, getting out of our lanes, getting out of our pigeonholes, out of our comfort zones, out of our silos, most importantly, so that we can think, we can work, we can innovate, we can collaborate better within companies, outside of industries. Instead of competing, we're collaborating or solving more of the challenges on this planet. So when we collaborate more, we find more relevance, we discover new value in things that perhaps we might have once dismissed or discarded or not simply needed. So, and I think I've brought you back a bit of time, Peter. That's just a little introduction to Connect and the Industrial Intelligence Platform, and I'm going to pass on to Jacob now, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the detail of Connect. And I think maybe a little bit of demonstration. So thank you.
Great, Simon.